Okay. What do you think the prefix of mono means in terms of a number? Okay. Mono refers to one. Okay. So a monomial is either one number, one variable, or the product of a number and variable. So if we're talking about monomials, we could have a number like 4. We could have a variable like x squared. Or we could have a product of numbers and variables. So it could be like 15x cubed y. Okay. Now, if we have monomials with the same variables and exponents, okay, this is something a little different than what we talked about back in Unit 2, okay? If we have the same variables and exponents, then those are considered like terms. Okay, so if you remember back when we did all of that work with combining like terms, okay, that is what we are going to do again here. So when we add or subtract monomials, we are looking to combine like terms. Okay, so we need to figure out which terms are alike. They have the same variables with the same exponents, and then we can add or subtract those together. Okay, something that's going to be really important, we are not going to change the variables or exponents. We are just going to add or subtract their coefficients, those numbers in front. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at number 1. Okay, notice number 1, we have 4x, so I'm going to put a box around it. Okay, do you notice that 5x is the same variable? So these would be considered like terms, which means I'm going to also put a box around plus 5x. So since these are like terms, I am going to do the operation of addition. The x stays the same, and our coefficient now becomes 9 because 4 plus 5 is 9. Okay. Now, over here, we have number 2. Notice how we have this term, this term is AB, and this term is AB. So these are like terms, okay? Negative 12AB is a like term for minus 2AB. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to actually perform that subtraction. Now, if you're worried about the subtraction, remember subtracting is the same thing as adding the opposite. Okay, but if we take negative 12AB minus 2AB, we're going to get negative 14AB. You will be able to use calculators on your test, so it's okay if you need to practice with a calculator. Okay. All right, now look at number 3. Number 3, notice how both terms have m's, but they're alike because both of them are m squared. So 7m squared is a like term for minus 9m squared. Okay, remember subtracting is the same thing as adding the opposite. Okay, so when we take 7 minus 9, we would get negative 2m squared. Okay, now look at number 4. Number 4, notice how we have like terms. Okay, k to the first power is our like term. Okay, so we do have like terms. Now, let's keep in mind that subtracting is the same thing as adding the opposite. So if I'm going to add the opposite, this becomes negative 8k plus 8k. Well, what's negative 8k plus 8k? It's going to be 0. Now, if you write 0k, that's fine, but the k isn't necessary since it's 0. Nothing is just nothing. Okay. Right? I'm going to give you a little bit of time to see if you can do number 5, and then we'll check our answer together. So I'll give you about 20 seconds to see what you can do with number 5. I want you to notice how both terms have r squared s. So we need to take negative 3 plus 11, which would be 8, and we are going to keep r squared s. Okay, when we add or subtract like terms, the variables need to be the same and stay the same. Okay, let's talk about number 6. Number 6 I want to talk about just because I don't see a number over here with PQR. If there's not a number, what do we assume? We assume that there's a 1 right there. So both of these terms are PQR, PQR. So what we can do is we can add 10 plus 1 to get 11 PQR. Okay, we're going to skip number 7. I want you to look at number 8, and I want you to come up with the answer to number 8 without me. So I'll give you about 20 seconds. See if you can do number 8. Okay, so we have like terms because we have x to the 5th y squared, x to the 5th y squared. So you can either think of this as 10 minus 14, or if you need to do add the opposite, but we're going to get negative 4 x to the 5th y squared. Our variables and exponents are the same, so they stay the same. Okay. Now, what we're going to need to be careful with is when we have different variables happening. Okay, so I see terms with m. Oops. Okay, notice how I'm going to box them, including the sign in front of the number. Okay, I also have terms with n, so I'm going to circle them, including the ones with the number. Okay, so if I take my m terms, okay, you don't have to write this, but I'm just going to try to help us think about it. We have negative 5m minus 3m. If it helps to write it as add the opposite, we'd be adding negative 3m. Okay, that would give us negative 8m. Okay, we then also have these n terms right here. So we have minus 2n plus n. Well, how many n's? 1 n. Even though there's not that number, we know that's 1. So we're going to get negative 2n plus 1n would give us minus 1n. Now, you don't have to write the 1. It's not necessary, but here would be your answer right there. Negative 8m minus 1n. Okay. So let's look at number 10. Okay, let's figure out what terms are alike and what terms are not alike. Okay, so I see this first term is xy, so I'm going to put a box around it. Do you see another xy term? I see one right here. Okay, I also see this term right here with an x, so I'm going to put a circle around it. And I also see a term over here with an x. Now, what about the one that I haven't put anything around? This one has a y, so it's not like those others. Okay, so I have 3 different types of like terms. Okay, first we have our 8xy minus 5xy. Well, 8 minus 5 is going to give us 3. Okay, then we have minus 2x plus 8x. That is going to give us a plus 6x. And then we don't have anything to combine with this 3y, so it just gets to stay plus 3y. Okay. Now, I want you to be really careful when we go to number 11, because in number 11, they're all k's. However, notice how this one is a k squared, which means its like term has to be k squared. So I'm going to put a box around 7k squared and plus 12k squared. Minus k and plus 4k are like terms because they're k to the first power. That is different than k to the second power. So if we take 7k squared plus 12k squared, we are going to get 19k squared. Then minus k plus 4k is going to give us plus 3k. I'm going to have you go ahead and do number 12 without me. I'm going to give you a little bit of time, and then we'll check our answer together. Okay, so we have like terms, minus r cubed, which we'll just put a little reminder that there's a 1 right there, and plus 5r cubed, those are like terms. Minus 2r squared and minus 8r squared are like terms. So when we combine these two together, we are going to get 4r cubed. And if we combine these two together, we're going to get minus 10r squared. Okay, so I want you to look at number 15. Okay, we're going to skip down to 15. Okay, what does the word sum mean? The word sum means addition, so I'm asking you to take 8m cubed n squared plus negative 3m cubed n squared. Are these like terms? Yep, they have the same variables and exponents, so we are going to add these together to get 5m cubed n squared. Okay, last one, we're going to look at number 16. I want you to remember that when it says subtract from, that's one of those turnaround phrases. So if I'm subtracting negative 4xy from 2xy, that means we're taking 2xy minus negative 4xy. Subtracting this from this means we have to go backwards. Okay, well, if I'm minusing a negative number, that turns into addition, so we get 6xy. What I want you to do is I want you to turn to page 7, and on page 7, numbers 1 through 11 are going to be your homework, and I do expect you to show your work and check your answers after you complete